What's really good, everybody? This is Nathan Albach, and welcome to the podcast where we get into people's stories and go down a bunch of rabbit holes about what's really good in the world. So, before we get into today's episode, just another quick update on the book I'm writing about internet culture. I've written about 200 pages in less than 2 months, which was way too much too soon, and my brain legitimately started to break. So I took the past couple weeks off, but I'm getting back into it again soon. So I'll be keeping y'all posted on Twitter when the first draft will be done. It's probably a month away or so. For those who don't know, the book is pretty much a history of internet culture from the late 1990s to now, that covers the origins of memes and viral moments and events, and really just gets into the cultures of different platforms. It's sort of like a map that if you're someone who's extremely online, you could give it to your friends in real life to help guide them through why you are the way you are. Anyway, though, enough about that. For today's episode, I had the pleasure of talking with Michaela Okland. You may know her from her popular Twitter account, which is currently one of the funniest out there in my view. Her tweets have been plastered all over online, mostly without permission. Goddamn cowards. She's also the creator of the viral account SheRatesDogs, which she just launched a month ago, and it already has over 100,000 followers on Twitter and 20,000 on Instagram, with a website and online store coming soon. The account essentially curates insane messages that guys send girls, which Michaela then gives a negative rating out of 10, similar to the concept of the account We Rate Dogs, that will be like, this doggo is a 14 out of 10, very good boy. Just the complete opposite. I first started interacting with Michaela through the Steakum Twitter account, which is where I met her and a bunch of other amazing content creators, like Kellen, who I talked with on the show back for episode 13, if anyone wants to check that out. Throughout this conversation, we talked a ton about our experiences online, how she got into writing on Twitter, the whole story behind SheRatesDogs, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So yeah, definitely check out her feed and SheRatesDogs if you haven't already, and enjoy our goofy conversation. Now let's get into what's really good. Michaela, what's up?
Hey.
After we've been talking for 5 minutes.
That's a good start. Hi. Hi, Nathan. Hey.
Or should I refer to you as SheRatesDogs now, since that's the alpha account?
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. No, I'm Michaela.
No.
I guess more people would know me as SheRatesDogs now, though, after a month.
Is that weird? Your whole identity is now as that banner.
Yeah, like I've been working on my personal account for a year now. And it's at like 92,000, and SheRatesDogs I started a month ago today, actually, and it's at 104,000. So that's who I am.
That is so insane.
Well, I thought I was like, when I made the account, I was like, I'm going to probably do this for like 2 or 3 days, get bored with it, and like,
right,
it'll
like
be
a bit.
inactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I thought I was going to get maybe like 3,000 followers, and like, that was it. That was the scope.
And now it's being written about all over the place.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's super weird when you have any kind of brand attached to your name, because then you just sort of inevitably become the brand to just the people who don't really know you. Like if you're meeting someone, then like I get this all the time with the Steakum stuff. It's so like part of it's flattering, part of it's annoying, because like you'll go to a party and like the people who don't talk to you regularly are kind of like, oh, this is the thing that I saw in the news that you posted about, so obviously this is what we should talk about. And meanwhile, you're just kind of like, oh, but I have all this other stuff in my life.
They're like inserting this one part of your life into every part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very small portion of what I do on a day-to-day basis, but like anywhere I go, it's like what people want to talk about.
Yeah, that's just like who you are now to them. Well, we can like jump into all that later, but I kind of want to just go go all the way back to the beginning. Like, I'll have done an intro before we record all this with who you are and just kind of like a general gist.
Oh, okay.
Just for people who
Hell
have...
yeah.
No,
Is it going to be nice?
It'll be super nice. Like, I know
Okay.
that's the number one thing with you. Just,
Talk me up.
people need to be nice to you. So
Yeah, I tweet that like every day to remind people that I'm sensitive.
well, you do this thing. It's great. What I love about your online presence or tweets, whatever you want to say, it's like you do almost like a prep work where you're kind of buffering people with this. So it's almost like a self-reflective, like, I'm going to say, be nice to me, just because you're already saying, yeah, I'm sensitive, and then it kind of works. It's almost like a shield.
And I block people like every day who says anything that annoys me, even if they follow me. And then they'll message one of my alts like, hey, why'd you block me? Like, you don't have to follow me, but I also don't have to be followed by you.
No, it's like a super healthy way of looking at it, because you're spending a chunk of your day on this thing. You don't want to be dealing with people's negative bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Are you allowed to block people from Steakum?
I can do whatever I want, but I think from like the brand perspective, it's usually not a good look, because people then use that as almost like clout. Then it's like, oh, I got blocked by this brand.
Yeah,
then...
well, that was my main struggle with it in the beginning. I was like, if I block people, they're going to be like proud of the fact that they got me to block them, like the ones who are looking for it. But at the same time, like once I block them, it doesn't even matter anymore because I'm not seeing whatever they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like on a personal level, it works way more in your favor. Whereas the brand, like there was this whole, I don't want to go down too far with this. Is just totally like my story with the dumb brand. But from 2014, before I ever did anything on it, the people who used to run Steakum's Twitter, this is kind of like some deep history. The old
deep steak history.
This is the deep steak. This agency that ran it before, I don't know the full story because I don't know who they were personally, but the word on the street is that they just didn't really understand social media that well, and whoever was running the account, basically a bunch of weird Twitter accounts started just messing with the brand, like you do, because it's a brand and it's a meat brand, so there's plenty to mess with. Yeah. So people started trolling them, and instead of interacting, they just started to block everybody. And they ended up blocking like 150 pretty prominent weird Twitter accounts.
Ooh.
So it became like this backlash effect where all these people from like the Something Awful forums and just like 4chan and Reddit and like these deep internet communities kind of rallied together to hate Steakum. And
oh my god.
Yeah, so they had...
Well, it's different. If you're a brand, like, you shouldn't block people because any kind of quote tweeting is getting you like engagement and like link clicks at that point. That's why people say such dumb shit in articles, because it doesn't matter if you like it. They just want you to say something about it.
Exactly. Like anything inflammatory, anything that's going to get clicks. But anyway, we don't got to get too deep into that boring brand stuff right now. But I just want to, like, before we get too deep here, I really just want to lay some kind of groundwork out for people, because even though we've talked online, I still barely know anything about you or how you got into all this. So for people listening, how did you first get into writing jokes on Twitter?
Man, okay. Well, so I'm in college. I go to Arizona State University. So I started it in high school, but it was never like people are going to follow me and I'm going to like have a brand from this or anything. I just like would tweet whatever popped into my head. And then probably when I was like 19 or like 20, God, wait, no, I'm old now. So it must have been like 20 or 21. I don't know. I started like actually tweeting things with the intention of like it getting likes and getting traction and like building a following. Cause I think I had like one viral tweet or something like that. And I was just like, hell yeah, let's do it.
I'm funny.
Well, cause like, I mean, I think everyone has thoughts that like, if they actually were to be in the headspace of, I'm going to tweet things that pop into my head, then they could also build a following or like go viral. It's really just like a headspace of being there. Like,
like most people don't think that when they're thinking these thoughts, they don't think, oh, I'm going to put that on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically everything that goes viral. But also like my most throwaway comments and tweets will end up doing the best. So I don't actually like know what I'm doing.
You're just being yourself.
Yeah.
Did you have friends on Twitter in the beginning? Was it localized at all, or like what got you into the platform?
I always followed like the weird Twitter accounts, like the cartoon Abby, old Twitter, like what used to be the thing before like my group of Twitter became more popular. And I like loved those people, and they like slowly started following me like one at a time. I was like so excited. Like I used to have a folder. This is so embarrassing. I used to have like a folder on my phone that was like best Twitter accounts that follow me. And it was just like these weird Twitter accounts with like 20,000 followers, but I just like thought that they were the best thing ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think when I started interacting with those accounts, maybe that got me a little bit of.
Would they like retweet your stuff or anything?
No, not usually. They sometimes, I mean, I would like reply to them or stuff. I've never been in like the cartoon Abby Twitter's circle. Mm-hmm. I just like had some of them like follow me, I guess. But that was when I was like ascending onto the Twitter plane of, I don't know.
But did you have any, so you didn't have local real life friends that were there in the beginning, because now you're part of like a bigger community and there's a bunch of users, we can kind of get into that later. But I mean, as far as people you knew, is this just kind of your own headspace?
Yes, all of my friends in real life, like in Arizona around me, are just like, they're very normal, like not, they're like, they do Instagram way more than Twitter, but like if they do Twitter, it's more like retweeting or like whatever. So like I'm very weird to like my friends in real life, but then my friends on the internet, I'm like very basic sorority girl. So like I'm just weirdly in the middle of these two groups of like weird to these people, but then like
I'm literally in the same weird space. Like I don't have like much of a persona on my online world, whatever you want to call it. But with real life, like I'm the same way. Like most of my friends are super, I guess, just normies, if that's the appropriate term to use. Like they don't,
but in a nice way.
But
like,
in a nice way, yeah.
They're happier than I am overall. Yeah. Like
they don't have depression. They're not getting trolled.
Days, like they have fun.
Yeah, isn't that the funny thing about being online? It's like live by the sword, die by the sword. You get all this attention and you get the adrenaline rush when you get all those retweets and likes, but then at the same time it just all comes crashing down when people aren't paying attention to you and you're comparing yourself to everybody. And
like, why haven't I gone viral in a week? What the fuck is wrong with me? Because I'm just a loser now.
Yeah, your time's over. Well, not your time is over now, because SheRatesDogs is the new queen.
She's the alpha. She's stepping on my neck.
So I mean, like in the past year, has your online life with Twitter and Instagram and all that, has it affected your school life at all? Like, are people recognizing you from Twitter? Like, has anything changed?
Yeah,
whatsoever?
I probably have a lot of followers in Arizona just because that's where I'm living. So I think people I know like my stuff a lot. And like, so whenever I go like when I worked at a bar, it was 3 times a night someone would say something about my Twitter. Or like last week when I was getting my eyebrows waxed, the girl mentioned it like in the middle of pulling my eyebrow off, which is like, I'm glad I'm not waxing something else right now, because I would feel so exposed. Like,
imagine if I was a dude with like a straight razor giving you a shave. God. Just like, oh yes, I know you from Twitter.
I saw your tweet about killing the moon, Kellen. Yeah, I'd say the most crazy. Like similar to me would probably be Ellie, just because we both had these very in-person college lives, but then also very online lives.
Right. Yeah. When did you guys get hooked up? Because I know you guys are pretty close in the online world at this point.
Yeah. So, I probably hit like 10K January or February of 2018, because I'd hit it on my original account the year before, but then that account got permanently suspended, so I had to start completely over.
What did you do?
I was like upset, but I didn't cry about it because like I wasn't making money from it, and like it was fine. I was upset though. I sent like a lot of appeals. Everyone was like, you totally would cry about that. You cried, didn't you?
What was the tweet that got you perma-banned?
Oh, they never told me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I asked so many times. What happened was this tweet decker stole one of Ryan Yeats' tweets or something like that. God. And I was tweeting him being like, fuck you, dude. Like, you suck. And then I think he like he told me that I was going to get suspended, and I was like, yeah, right. And I think he like told his followers to report me for like targeted harassment or something like that. But I don't think that it could have been what I was saying to him. I think they must have like searched my name next to keywords like kill or something like aggressive. Dude. But I'm literally like this 110-pound blonde girl, like with a broken spine at the time, and they're like, you have been violently harassing people on the internet. Like, people are scared of you. I'm like, okay.
Dude, that is so absurd. That's honestly the worst part about Twitter, is just the brigade factor of where, especially those TweetDecker people, because I didn't even know for the longest time that people could still do that. I didn't know it was still a thing.
I think they did stop it, so like they got rid of all the followers for those accounts, but they're like trying again.
Right. Those communities are always going to be there, like people just trying to game the system.
I care less now that I actually have like my own brand. When I like was just starting and like struggling with that, it bothered me so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're spending all this time online, and we get into this all the time between you and all this, the online circle of content creators where, you know, you take a lot of time. These are your thoughts. These are your jokes. And, you know, I talk with my wife about this sometimes. She's not as online, like obviously her and I talk about this kind of stuff.
Online. Yeah. You get in bed after a long day and you're like, man, the tweet haters today, honey.
She's just like home watching TV, like, please shut up.
Like, babe, I got 500 retweets in like 10 minutes.
But she, like, from her perspective, like, I think it's a lot harder for people who don't spend time in this space to understand what the problem is. Because it's like the whole trickle down thing where people are used to just kind of consuming information from places like BuzzFeed or Fuck Jerry.
Yeah, well, and you do get jobs sometimes from the content you create. So like when people are stealing it, it's like taking away opportunities, because then like it might not look as original when someone comes on your profile or like stuff like that. But Ellie had like, I think 15,000 followers or something when we first became friends. It's our friendiversary today. We're going to go live later.
No way, really? That's awesome.
We're a nice little pair.
Did she work at Barstool before all that, or did she land the job because of her Twitter presence, or what was her whole thing?
They found her through Twitter. She hit 300,000 like this past month, so she must have had like 150 or like 200, because I think it was like within a year that she went to 300,000 followers. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly where she was at when that happened, but it was like July or something.
Yeah, so it is cool, and like people who do this, I mean, they do get picked up sometimes for those. Oh yeah, she's got a great setup there. Like they gave her a producer, like she creates what she wants, and then they make it happen. It's awesome. Yeah, that's dope. We kind of touched on this before in the beginning. We were kind of joking about how like yourself, not deprecating necessarily, but you're kind of satirical about yourself in a way. And I think there's something interesting there, which I'm just wondering if this was strategic or if this was this is kind of just like you being yourself. Because like from my perspective, like
are you going to read a specific tweet here?
No, I promise you I won't. It's not that kind of podcast. But like from where I'm sitting, just the way you tweet like that, you're kind of highlighting your own insecurities, which isn't something that people actively do online a lot, because obviously you're vulnerable to the worst kind of people and trolls and all that. So have you always been an open person who was just kind of like putting it all out there, or did you kind of develop that as like a buffer mechanism to almost like deflect assholes? You know what I mean?
Well, like I've always gotten a lot of hate just in general, like from the beginning of Twitter, but also just like in high school or like in college. Just, I don't know. I have a loud personality, so not everyone receives that positively, which is totally fine. But I think I started doing that like a little bit more when like, I mean, there was definitely a point when I realized that it was better to just own those things for me. Like instead of just pretending. I dropped out of college for a semester because I was just failing out and like super depressed, and like I had to go home and like regroup and stuff. And when I came back from that and got to a good place is when I started being like really just open about how like shit sucks sometimes and like that I have a lot of issues. And I think I couldn't really talk about it when I was in it, but then like after that, it got a lot better. So like now when I do have something that's bothering me, I just kind of like tell people because I don't know, it makes me feel better because people always make me feel better on Twitter.
Yeah, you get a lot of that.
My followers are really nice.
After you tell them so many times.
Yeah, after I tell them, like, I need you to be nice to me, I'll get, like, really nice messages.
Yeah. Well, I feel like just from following you, I mean, you're really good. You roll with the punches really well. So, I mean, like, with
but sometimes I'm so mean.
But you don't seem like, I guess what I mean by that, you can anybody can be mean online, but you don't seem...
I never instigate.
Yeah, you don't seem like you get sucked into it. Like, that's what I'm kind of trying to get at. Like, it doesn't... For right now, the criticism doesn't seem to affect you in the way it would affect some people. Like, do you feel like you deal with it better now or have, like, better mechanisms?
Yeah, I deal with criticism really well. I was talking to Ellie and someone else about this because there was like this group of people on Twitter that was kind of going at me a few weeks ago. It was on Christmas. It was literally on Christmas.
Oh, I remember this. I'm in that one chat room with you guys. Was this like the edgy Twitter thing?
Oh yeah, it was so weird because this happens to Ellie more than anyone and then like me also, but it was just so bizarre, and it's like I've been ignoring it for so long because I was like, if I just like don't give them any attention, they'll stop.
Yeah.
But then they like weren't stopping, so I just like called one of them out on it and just like posted screenshots of what he was saying, and they haven't said anything since then. So
nice. So it worked?
I was kind of upset that day just because I was like, it's Christmas, what is going on?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it was probably like a 5-hour period of like me being upset, and then I was like, it's fine. Did
it kind of just like calm down since that point, or?
I think so. I mean, I blocked them all. So in my world, yeah, they haven't said anything. Right. But also like I saw these things because my followers would send it to me, and right. I haven't had anyone like send me stuff since then.
Yeah, that's always the weird part about Twitter because you have the sort of, not just snitch tagging, but people are obviously, like, they're friends. So if someone sees a mutual friend posting bad stuff about someone they like, it's obvious. It's like the whole thing is one giant high school, and there's all these different classes.
I got this DM in one of my group chats that was like, Michaela, that was so fucked up what blah, blah, blah said about you on Twitter today. I was like, what? What did they say? And then they like sent me a screenshot. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, it's really insane just how the drama kind of works. And it's weird because with you and your kind of your clique, your group, whatever you want to call it, your community of friends now with Viking and Ellie and Kellen and Gracie and all these people, how have you guys managed to all stay tight from the past year with all this stuff happening? Because it really does seem like it's kind of, the environment really lends itself to forming cliques and people starting drama, and there's always, somebody posts something that maybe the group doesn't like or thinks is inappropriate or whatever.
Well, that'll happen where someone will like send something in the group of like another person we know being like, this is like totally a spin-off of a joke that I've already done or something like that. But I used to be in group chats with like a lot of edgy Twitter or whatever, and they actually kicked me because they were trying to make fun of Ellie, and then I told them all they were losers.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it was so annoying. It's like she's not in this group chat, and they're all just like talking shit about her. Like, but they liked me before, but then because I disagreed with them or like whatever, all of a sudden everything I post sucks, and it's like not funny. Which is always just the weirdest concept to me because like I don't think tons of people are funny. I just like would never be so bothered by that I'd like post about them being unfunny. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they don't like what I tweet. That's like totally fine. It's a social media app. Like you don't have to, but they want to like say stuff about it, and it's just so weird to me.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. So, I mean, like when you look at the kind of core group of friends that you've made, what do you think is the thing that's kept you all so close?
We're just all like decent, not bitter people.
It's that simple.
Yeah, like Viking and Cal and Gracie and Ellie, and like those people are all just nice, don't steal jokes, don't like say shitty things, don't post things where I'm like, that was fucked up.
Right.
Gotta unfollow this person now. Which like I follow very few people because like I get bothered really easily, and I just don't want things on my timeline, or like since I don't follow that many people, it's like I'm endorsing someone if I follow them. So if they tweet something that's just like something I can't agree with, I have to unfollow them.
Yeah, and then it becomes much more personal. I think that is the kind of the secret in my mind, at least. Now that you said that out loud, that makes sense, because with the group, I've noticed just from being in that one group chat where it doesn't seem like anyone in the close circle really talks shit on anybody else. Like, the only things you guys do is react if someone else is creating drama about something. So that's
the thing. It's like we have never like made a post about someone's tweet being like, this is so dumb, like this is so basic, this person fucking sucks. Like, we'll be like, oh, this person said shitty things about me. Like, they're kind of lame.
It's like you're just reacting to it.
It's always been reactions, but it's pretty good now. It's been quiet, I think. I don't know, they don't really exist anymore.
Once they're blocked, they're pretty much...
Blocking is so nice. I used to not want to, because it's like you're giving them content. They get a tweet that you blocked them, like, whatever. But nothing matters if you don't see it, so...
Well, it's your mental health at the end of the day. I mean, that's... If it's to that degree... And I don't think for most people that are interacting with your accounts, just the everyday users who, they might have a couple hundred followers or whatever it is, but they're not the targets of harassment. Like, you're an actual target. So like, what have you noticed? Like, obviously with SheRatesDogs, we can get into this in a bit. Just with the whole premise of what the account is, you deal with girls sending you these absurd situations with guys. So like, but for you personally, when you're on Twitter, just as just a very pretty, very funny, very vocal girl, how is it like with being like a target for harassment? Like, do you deal with this, do you think, exceptionally compared to most?
I mean, you just have to get to a point where like you realize that so many people are just like idiots. Like, and like you look at who our president is, and it helps you a lot with like realizing that like when you get these shitty messages, it doesn't mean that you're shitty. Like, there are just so many people out there. And like when anything goes viral, like the most basic tweet with nothing offensive could go viral, and like you'll get people being like, this was fucked up because of this and that and this, and like,
they come out
you
of the
suck
woodwork
for saying this. So like once you have followers in general, like that can happen with anything you say. So I mean, like, my immediate reaction now is to just block them, because they're usually like either faceless, or like they're behind a cartoon, or it's just like this really close-up selfie of some white guy, or like, I don't know, like nothing that actually just feels like a really important person doesn't respect me. So I must suck. The sexual comments are the ones that still bother me, because that's always been an issue, which is why I'm more on Twitter than Instagram. But I just blocked those too. I don't know.
That's more like, would you say that's more common in Instagram comments?
Well, it's honestly both. Like, if I go viral on Twitter, like I will get just as many DMs that are like sexual as like if someone posts me on Instagram or something like that, or like if something like that happens, which is like, and I'll get weird DMs like, Ellie's actually funny, you're just hot, or like,
seriously?
Weird,
oh man,
that's like weird things, like trying, but like I know that they're just like trying to think of the thing that'll like hurt me.
Exactly, like, getting under your skin.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna say something about her friend so that like it's more personal.
That's so messed up. Yeah, I can't imagine being like with a account the size of yours and as active as you are, just how much of that you got to deal with. I mean, obviously, the bigger any account gets, the more of that kind of stuff you're going to get. But it really does seem, specifically with girls online, there's just, I don't know if it's just the anonymous sort of like 4chan-esque nature of that culture for guys. Because it does seem like when you look at the kind of the contrast in general, like say, I mean, just contrasting Twitter to YouTube even. It's like YouTube as a platform, most of the people who are commenting and viewing the videos, most of them are guys, and most of it's anonymous. And that kind of creates
YouTube comments suck.
Oh yeah, they're notoriously the worst, and like and they're kind of similar to Reddit and 4chan and just like that deep online web, which is male dominated. But with Twitter or Instagram, you see a lot more female oriented accounts, and it's a little bit more progressive and like how I guess like which accounts are more dominant, I guess, and like how the culture works. So you definitely see a contrast there. But like for you personally, like do you think, because everything's public for you, I mean your face is out there, your name's out there, like when you're dealing with this, do you feel like that gives you kind of like a sense of empowerment, or do you think it kind of works more to a fault?
Like having my name and face with my stuff? Yeah,
like just in contrast to these people who are more anonymous and that whole deal.
Well, they can just act so confident because they don't have to back it up. But like, that they have to suck behind there. Not to be like heavy, but sometimes I'll get like actual like threats that I like have to report to the police about. But like those they still don't like know where I live, or like they'll say something about like coming to Scottsdale to kill Michaela Okland. But like my address isn't in Scottsdale. I just say it is. Or like I'll drop like fake hints online, like on the 13th floor of my apartment right now, looking like out on the pool, and like my apartment doesn't have 13 floors. Like just like fake stuff about my life so that people like get led away from that if they actually wanted to come for me. But they act confident. Like they're never like, yeah, I'm actually just really ugly behind here. Or they'll be like, no, I have a girlfriend and like I have a 6-figure salary.
Of course.
They'll always say that.
All these like, of course, I make 6 figures a year and I'm anonymously trolling you.
Yeah, because they can. They can just say whatever they want from these like troll accounts. If I never blocked anyone, I would be so miserable right now with like all of the replies I get to my stuff. If I had just never blocked anybody, there would just be like hundreds of extra replies to everything that were either like degrading or like just gross. I don't know.
Yeah, and just straight up threats. I mean, that's insane. And that's like the scariest part about online culture in general. I mean, I've been doing a ton of deep internet research the past couple months for this book I'm working on, and it is insane how throughout mostly the past like 15 years, I guess. I mean, I guess a little earlier you can trace back, but really in the past like 10, 15 years, with how many big events that have happened on the internet, whether it's been like a controversy like Gamergate, or like something that happened on TV, or some person got famous with a post, and then you have all these cases of them getting doxxed. Someone like releases like all their information to the public, and that stuff is really... It's so bizarre living in this timeline where you have as many people as we do who just sit at their computers like preying on like whoever they deem to be their enemy. It's like, oh, here's this person. I know exactly how to hack and I can make this person's life a living hell.
Well, all of my Facebook, where like my family and stuff would be, is like completely locked down. Like you can't find me unless you have mutual friends with me. Like even if you are friends with me, my friend list is hidden. Like everything is dark on there. And then like, luckily my family doesn't really have social media. Like I have a brother and sister and my parents, and none of them use Instagram or Twitter. My brother kind of uses Snapchat. No,
does he use TikTok?
Oh my God. See, that's TikTok is so funny, but like you could go huge on TikTok so easily just by like, I watch this shit on there that has just millions of views, and it's just like someone lip syncing to
it's literally nothing.
And it's like what is happening? If I had no shame, I could be famous.
Just do it. Just go. It really is insane watching those videos specifically, because part of me, I see it two ways. I mean, part of me thinks this is just the new generation of internet users, and I'm already becoming an old fart. And I don't get it.
That's a horrible way to look at it.
Yeah, that's the part of me, because that's how when I think about you probably remember this. Like, you're only, I think, a few years younger than me, but when Instagram first started blowing up, it kind of blew up with the hipster movement, and everybody was like really into posting neat images, and just like everybody's life looked perfect and all that. it only took a couple years until the whole like Finstagram thing took off, where like younger kids were kind of revolting, like, you know what I mean? So
but people don't really look back at like having an Instagram and being like, oh, that was so embarrassing. And I swear these people will look back on their TikToks and be like, that was the cringiest shit of my life. But you can't remove it now. Like my 12-year-old phase, no one will ever find it. So
100%. And it's like, it's
for them.
It's just crazy how it's like the younger generations are always looking for ways to kind of undermine. Like if you grew up, if you were like 13 and your 18-year-old brother or sister had a Instagram, like in your mind, you're like, oh, my older brother uses that. That's lame. I'm going to use whatever new app is out.
And every generation wants privacy, which is like why we went off Facebook when our parents got Facebooks, and like we went to Instagram and Twitter, because it's like we want somewhere where it's just people our age and like we don't have to like be held accountable by our parents for being like crackheads.
Yeah, which is the whole Snapchat thing, which, you know, they just delete themselves and all that. But even with that, I mean, with Snapchats and these TikTok videos, I mean, once you're in like a compilation that makes its way to YouTube, you're done. That's it.
People can always Google that.
Yeah, just RIP.
And make fun of you.
So, I mean, I'm interested in knowing, this is something I'm interested in. So I got to know you through the brand Steakum that I work on with Twitter. And we've had some back and forths, and you and I and other similar content creators. Yeah, so with Steve, RIP to intern Steve.
What happened to intern Steve?
So real quick, side note, intern Steve was a real person.
And it wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me. His name was Bob. He interned here for a few months, and what happened is I basically created the character, like the brand, whatever you want to call it, of intern Steve before he got there, so people had an idea of who this character was. And then when he got there, we made the account, and I was like, listen, dude, like in your free time, feel free to mess around with this. And the guy who was running it was hilarious. Just this guy, he could easily be a comedian. Just really, really funny dude, and nothing like the character Steve at all in real life. But he fleshed that whole thing out, and then eventually went back to school. So it got to the point where I didn't know like what to do with it, because
Did you do the sewer thing?
I ended up, so him and I collaborated on that a little bit.
Okay. That was just like his slow demise, putting him in the sewer.
I was going to leave him there.
Man, like, we gotta like
gotta find a way
this out.
Yeah, we gotta kill you off somehow. But it didn't stop there, and then people wanted him back, and I just kind of had to give up with the whole thing, because it was just, I didn't know how to manage it at that point once this kid went back to school. But anyway, yeah.
That's all really good to know.
Yeah, if you're interested, I did a podcast with him.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like a few months ago. Yeah, it was entertaining. I was like, dude, we have to just like talk about this and get the information out there.
You just need to know.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, like, so when Steve and Steakum and these kind of like Moon Pie and a lot of these other brand characters on Twitter, once we kind of got wind of your content creator movement, which I consider, like, I guess it doesn't really have a name besides funny Twitter or joke Twitter, whatever. But you guys, like, you kind of hinted at this before, where prior to you coming in, there was that wave of weird Twitter where you had accounts like Pixelated Boat and Drill and all them. So you're kind of like a new wave of joke writers and humorists and satirists.
With faces.
Yeah, you really are. I mean, it's like all you and Viking and Gracie and like all these characters who are hilarious. You've kind of all grown together and you share the humor. So I mean, like, we can go as long or short on this as you want, but I'm interested to know what your opinion or feelings are on brands collaborating with creators and using them with their advertising in a way.
Oh, I love it.
Do you love it?
I think it's so funny. Like, I mean, Twitter creators can make things go viral so much easier, like actually get views so much easier than any other platform, in my opinion. Like on Instagram, the reach, because there's not like retweeting as much on like Instagram or like that kind of thing. So like if you can like come up with something good with a brand, like there's a much better chance of it getting big on Twitter than anywhere else. But like Twitter's not actually used that much for promoting or like sponsorships and that type of thing. I mean, if it's done in a funny way, like usually when a brand and like a Twitter creator collaborate on something, it's like both of them are still doing their character bits. Like they're not completely changing anything of their tone or whatever. So it's usually pretty seamless.
Yeah, it's interesting to me just because working behind the brand and then obviously being friends with all the content creators, like in my mind, there's sort of like the aspect, which is sometimes it goes unsaid, sometimes it's more overt. But I mean, like as brands, obviously, in almost every case, like so, I guess there's some cases where brands are on Twitter and that's just part of their kind of social media plan and they can kind of mess around and do whatever. But like in most cases, they're obviously there for some kind of bottom line to advertise their product and make sales and all that. So like there's kind of this inevitable tension between, you know, like the brands who are posted on there, even if it's someone like me who, you know, I love you and I love all the creators who, you know, we interact with, and it's definitely like a fun relationship. But at the same time, when I'm talking with you through the brand, like on Twitter, there's like an inherent part of that which is advertising. So like, do you feel moving forward as more brand, like let's just say 2019 over the next few months, a bunch more brands start to interact with you and kind of try to befriend you, like how do you feel about that whole aspect of it, where like brands are kind of using content creators for advertising to help promote what they're doing?
Well, that already happens with like even just like an account. There'll be someone who just started a joke account and they're trying to get big, so they'll reply to like people who are big on Twitter to get like those views. Like they'll try to like make some funny addition to your joke and like get likes and have people find them there. And like for whatever it is, I'm fine with it if I actually think they're funny or if I actually like the person behind it, because we're all trying to make money. So like, I mean, I don't really care as long as I like the person. If it's like someone who I think everything they say is just like annoying or like overdone or like whatever, I'll probably just like block them so they can't use me to siphon off followers or like engagement or anything like that. But I mean, most of the ones that have interacted with me now have been just like funny people.
Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at it, because like I guess I see it the same way. Like I really enjoy almost all the brands that engage with the content creators that we know and with my brand, and it's all fun. I just kind of get in this weird mindset just knowing the model of advertising and marketing as a whole, and how ultimately this is all being sort of observed by a bunch of corporate CEOs and people who are like now like figuring out how to strategize around this. So you know there's going to be like more in the next year or two. There's going to be way more people who are like, oh, we can exploit this. Like we can
social media jobs are just like always going to continue booming.
Yeah. But that's like the kind of weird thing about it, because luckily, I mean, there's a certain level of transparency where like we both know Mac McCann, who runs the Pluckers Twitter account, and like with someone like him or like me, we get to we have the privilege of being able to lift the mask off a little bit, so we can be like, hey guys, like this is who you're talking to. But it's like it does get kind of dicey when you don't have any idea who the person is behind the brand, because like for all you know, it could be some like person who really doesn't give a shit, and they're just like they see like, oh, Michaela tweeted this and it's getting a lot of attention, I'm gonna jump on for engagement, act like I care because it's gonna get me attention. So it's kind of that.
There's definitely like different vibes from like different people. Like obviously I know you and Mac, and like I think Mac wasn't at Pluckers when he was first on. He was at Chive. But like any account can like just be replying to get followers and get attention. So I mean, I kind of just like see the way they talk to me, and if I like it, then it's fine. And if I don't, like if they're adding to the humor, like any person who's going to my page, like if they're seeing funny replies, like it's like a community, like me interacting with other joke Twitter accounts, like all of that like adds to it.
Yeah.
So it's only if they're like taking away from something, it's a problem.
That's a great way of looking at it, because so many times brands, just like today with that whole Burger King tweet with Trump's where they said Burger King or whatever it was, like, did you see that where it went viral?
No,
today?
I didn't.
It was like,
oh, that's today.
Yeah, Trump tweeted something about the dinner he had, the fast food dinner he had, and he misspelled something. I think like he misspelled burger, and I think he said birder or something like that. And then Burger King jumped on that and did a tweet, and that blew up. And it has like last I checked, it had like 30,000 retweets or something like that.
Oh, wait, due to a large order placed yesterday, we're all out of hamburgers.
Yeah.
Just serving hamburgers today.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's like there's stuff like that, like where brands, they have the ability to kind of to play into cultural humor, and you can kind of make memes out of it, and they can partake. But so there is like that back and forth where it does work to the hand of a content creator sometimes, where you can kind of have those relationships. But yeah, I mean, so it's weird now because, I mean, you have your own brand. So
yeah, the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden I have my own brand.
Like, what's it been like? I mean, actually, let me ask this first. What was it like for you the moment that She Rates Dogs got more followers than you?
That was like a week ago, I think. I mean, like, I'm excited, obviously, that it's doing well. It's just so weird that, like, this is now my main thing because it's so recent to me.
Yeah.
And I've been doing, like, my personal account for so long. And, like, the first few weeks that I started She Rates Dogs, I was, like, so focused on that and always reading those DMs and stuff that, like, I wasn't really coming up with anything on my personal. So I sort of, like, went AWOL on that one for a while. But it's so weird. I mean, because I've only been She Rates Dogs for a little time now. But I was excited. Like, I'm really glad that it's going to actually make me money.
Right. Yeah, like, what was the, like, original inspiration for it? Was it a specific chain of texts, or what made you do it?
So, obviously, like, I get a lot of these messages all the time, and, like, I always deal with that, like, response from guys where they're like, well, I don't know any guy who talks to girls like that, but they don't, like, see what they say in private. Or, like, I don't know, like, no one that I know does this, or, like, that whole thing. And Matt Nelson posted some kind of story about We Rate Dogs. And I was like in that mindset when I saw it. And I just like replied his story being like, I want to make an account that's like We Rate Dogs, but the dogs are exes. And then he was like, are you asking for my permission? I was like, kind of. And he was like, you have it.
That's
and
awesome.
then I did it. I think I did it like 2 weeks later because it was like finals week and I was going to like finish the semester before I did a new project. But it was really good timing because I started it over winter break when I had like nothing else going on. So I got to just like focus on social media stuff. And then the guy who does all of the merch stuff for We Rate Dogs reached out to me and is now doing the stuff from my account.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's nice because like I know I can trust him. Like I know like he's like an established person in that like area and that like he's worked with people I know. So it's because I got a lot of like people reaching out being like, if you ever want to do like merch with me, like blah blah blah.
Snake oil salesman.
Yeah, but like you get nervous because it's like you're entering a partnership with someone that like you have no idea about. Yeah. But it was nice to like feel that security because he actually works with We Rate Dogs.
Like as soon as you reach any kind of success, you get all those swindlers and people trying to just jump in and be like, hey, I can work with you. I got your back. And
well, I posted like a screenshot also the other day of like the website almost being done. And some guy at ASU DM'd me being like, hey, I'm a web developer. Like I can have this done for you in a few days. Like, what? Do you see that I'm like saying this is almost done? Why are you like, what's the angle? I don't need you. Yeah. Or like, oh my God, this guy DM'd me being like saying that I should make She Rates Dogs about female and male exes or something, and like how this would be way better if I changed this and that. Like I get a lot of DMs like that, and I'm like, what? Why? Then what would be like unique about that? Like there's already so many things about that. Like you don't have to appeal to everybody. If you appeal really strongly to like a certain group of people, that's much more useful than like being like, I'm going to make things for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has their 2 cents with this stuff. And it's like, you're always, no matter what you do, you're going to offend somebody. It's like, it's literally impossible to get by in any kind of comedy or entertainment without isolating some kind of group.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like the hate backlash on it.
You're gonna get a bunch of men's rights activists and the incels and that whole group to.
Oh my God, the incels terrify me. But like I looked up, it's like the funniest stuff in the world. But like they're so aggressive though. Someone told me that like incel they work for some kind of government group and that incels are like the top watched group for like committing crimes, violent crimes or something like that.
Yeah, they get their forums shut down all the time. Like I remember, I forget what it was called. They had a big one on Reddit like a year ago or so that got shut down because just like the same type of stuff, just like illicit activity and like.
Well, some people don't even know that they're a thing still.
I
was talking to this guy about like how like I just used the term incel about something. He's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "What?"
It's so weird.
Boy, do I have an answer for you! Like you're about to see a whole new world.
What kind of speaks to the whole just like kind of surface level culture that we live in with a lot of the deeper conversations about, you know, sexuality and female to male relationships. And like you said it a little bit earlier about how people will message you and be like, well, I don't know any guys who are like this. And it really is this kind of weird time where, you know, on a surface level, you might know a handful of people who come off a certain way, but with the internet's provided a platform for all of the weirdest people to come out where, like, their day-to-day life, they might be totally normal at their work or their school, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But then online, they're just creeps.
And that's the whole thing. I don't know what the exact statistics are, but, like, a huge portion of women are sexually assaulted in their life, but men don't know any guys who would, like, who they would ever think would do that. So it's like the awareness isn't there somehow, which is why people think it's so like improbable that this woman is being honest when she says like a guy was harassing her, like there was an abusive relationship or like something bad happened. Like we don't realize, even though those statistics are there, we don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people, and I see this all the time online and in real life when people talk about this kind of stuff, where people always use this sentence that I hate so much, where they'll say, "But they're so nice," and it's like literally anybody. Like it's good to be nice. Like we can all like just lay that out, just like with you. It's be nice to you. I know, but
yeah, well, they think they have to be a psychopath in every aspect to possibly be capable of something like that.
Right, and the truth is, I mean, anybody is nice to the people that they agree with. It's like if you're friends or family with somebody, they could be the worst person ever, but if you're friends with them, they're going to be nice to you. So it's like this really, like that's been one of the most eye-opening things for me the past several years. A lot of people were, even one of my good friends was just dating this guy, and on the surface, I mean, I met this guy a bunch of times, super nice, like I really enjoyed just talking with him. We actually had some similar interests. Like when we talk, it all seemed pretty normal. And then after they broke up, found out that this guy was totally abusive and like borderline psychotic. And it's like, well, the knee-jerk response to that is to be like, oh, but he was so nice. I can't imagine he was like that. But it's not an indicator at all of someone's ability to act that way. You know?
Well, and the reactions, it's like if a guy is just like normal and nice and like a good person, he thinks the account is funny, or he'll be like, yeah, a lot of guys can be like that. But if like you're one of the ones who kind of suck, you're probably going to be like, this is bullshit. Like no one's like that. Like they're just totally blind to it because they're in it. Like,
right. Yeah,
so those are the ones that you got to worry about.
Did you see the Gillette ad today that went viral?
Yeah, I loved it, but it was getting so much backlash.
Exactly, that was like the same, like going through the comments on Twitter and YouTube with the same exact thing, where you had a lot of, it was kind of like split down the middle. Like you had a lot of people supporting it, and then a lot of people, and like in my opinion, like I have a lot of conversations with people across the political spectrum, and I can see where people are coming from if they want to criticize something like that. But like there's a difference between saying, oh, like I think that the approach that Gillette was using here it could have been more tactful, and then there's the people who are like, this is bullshit, like guys aren't like this, and like this really knee jerk, not all
it's just
men
weird
type of thing.
To be so bothered by that, like to have any kind of negative thing about someone who looks like you. Like it's very clear you don't ever have to deal with any oppression or like any kind of discrimination in your normal life if that bothers you so much.
Right. Yeah. It's just like such a direct, like something just, it presses a button with them that they're just not used to ever having to react to in any way.
Well, and like 22% of my followers on SheRatesDogs are men. So it's like guys do think it's funny.
A decent amount. That's way more than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So it's like 75 or like 77% women, but like, I mean, it appeals more to women, but it shouldn't have to piss off guys.
Right.
It's not like, I'm not tweeting in between this, men suck, let's kill them. Like, let's destroy them.
Exactly. Like how for you.
I'm still dating. Like, I still like guys. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's all part of like the kind of humorous persona where I think people get lost in the fact that, like, especially with an account like that or your personal account where most of what you're writing are jokes. And like people, it's so ironic when a lot of the people, which in a lot of the cases, it's men who are into more offensive content and comedy. They're the ones getting so offended by this type of content when it's like,
Yeah.
it's what? Like, this is literally like you're getting offended by this thing that's
And then
clearly
they're the
a
ones
joke.
who are like, why can't I make fun of like actually discriminated against groups of people?
Yeah.
Like, don't make fun of me. But like, I think it should be fine that I make fun of all these groups of people. Like,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like it's yeah, whatever. But I mean, like when you look at all that, I mean, like how like therapeutic has this whole account experience been for you? Like with all these girls submitting their similar experiences and you getting to talk to all these people.
I mean, it's crazy because the amount that I post is such a small portion of what I'm getting. Like, I mean, it's like a lot every hour. It's like a lot of DMs. And I actually have someone help me go through them now because it's
cool.
just so many. But it's like, yeah, it's like 40 an hour. So like, it's insane to me how like common it is. But also like guys, when they say like crazy shit in high school, like you're like, well, yeah, that happens. Like people are crazy in high school.
Right.
But then like sometimes if it's like a grown man or like you'll just like find repeating things and I'll like post something that I've gotten maybe like 40 DMs that are like the exact same situation. Then guys will reply, this would never happen. This is totally made up.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, like I am getting so much of this exact same thing. Like
It's like a big case study.
Yeah. I like if the government read my DMs, they'd know everyone's secrets also. Like, cause I'm the one who crosses out all the names. Like they usually almost always send everything with all the pictures and names, like not scribbled out.
Wow.
But like, since I can't go through any like validation test, I just feel like it would be unfair of me to not scribble that stuff out.
Yeah.
Like, cause you never know if like a random thing could be like, well, you didn't see the other side of it, or like, well, they deleted text, or like this was, so like I just scribble everything out just in case.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Except for Tinder bios. Sometimes I leave that.
So, sometimes you have to.
Yeah, sometimes it really adds to it, But I mean, yeah, it's kind of therapeutic. I think it's really helpful to girls who follow me. Like I've gotten a lot of DMs saying that like seeing the reactions to one of my posts made them realize that their relationship was abusive, or like that it wasn't okay that they're talked to like that, or like by seeing how many like replies this one post got that reminded them of their ex, they like realized like that wasn't a good situation. I've gotten a lot like that, like I dumped my boyfriend who was a piece of shit because of this account, and like I feel so much better. So I think it's like even more therapeutic for other people than it is for me, because some of it's too fucked up for me to post, or like some of it's illegal, or like just really bad that I don't want to get involved with that.
So does that ever have the reverse effect then of that, or do you kind of feel the heaviness of it and you get really like depressed from reading them?
It makes me sad sometimes, where to the point of like I message them like, are you okay? Like what's happened since then? Like,
yeah.
Did you tell the police?
Right.
Sometimes I've had to ask that because I'm just like, wait, like, was this a long time ago? Are you okay now? Or like, is this your life right now? Like,
yeah.
But it's not super like overall changing perspective, because like this is sort of kind of like what I already knew. Just from like what I have experienced in my DMs. But it's like if other people aren't like super out there on the internet, they probably aren't getting a ton of DMs that I get that like show you those sides of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that I have someone else helping me, it's like taken so much weight off of it, because it's so much to just go through. Like I don't want them all to be super scary. Like I want them to be a little funny, at least, where it's ridiculous and like laugh at it. But like it's hard to find that balance sometimes in these DMs.
Right, if you're getting like so much dark material. And like
my biggest thing has been like being like, wait, is this funny or is this just fucked up? Like, not even like being depressed, but just like being so numb to it all at a point where I'm like, is this like good now, or is this just like
well, it's like your pinned tweet. It's like all about like how much trauma makes this funny.
Oh my God.
Like, is
I've
that
gotten so much hate for that tweet.
Dude, that tweet is so it's one of my favorites because of how accurate it is. I mean,
well, I think so too, but people are like, so if you have kids, you're going to abuse them.
Oh my God. Seriously?
Like, I mean, like, because of that one time, no one wanted to sit with me at lunch, or like, because of like this, like, I'm glad it happened now. That's all I'm saying. Like, obviously, like, more than that. But like, I mean, there's like a point where like, you're like, oh, I'm a better person now because of, you know.
Right.
But yeah, some people will be like, some people want to be like, you're going to fuck up people's lives.
Oh my God. People are so ridiculous.
Yeah, but
it's like, I'm sorry,
totally.
Nancy. Have you never made a mistake in your parenting? Like, do you feel like for where you're at right now, do you feel like you're pretty grounded with all this? Because, I mean, just the way you talk about it, you seem like you have a pretty good emotional intelligence and grasp on, you know, how to deal with these kind of situations.
Like when I get those responses to my tweets?
Like just I mean, just in general as a person. I mean, obviously, like a lot of this started from your own experience of like your own DMs, and obviously, I'm sure this trickles into your real life as well. So I mean, like how like not numb to it, but like how adjusted and how much have you grown from all of it?
Well, like because I don't just like automatically assume that everyone's full of shit. Like I still have like I am capable of saying something that could have accidentally been bad. Like if someone feels that kind of way about it. So I will delete things sometimes if I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, but I could see like that being bad for like a lot of people who read it, which I can't even think of one of those situations off the top of my head. But like, I don't just automatically go like, these people are ridiculous. Like everything I'm saying is fine because have good intentions. But like you learn a lot from having a lot of followers. Like if you like, there are things when I look at my time hop that I said 2 years ago or like a year ago, I'm like, oh, I could never say that now because like I wasn't trying to be like a bad person, but like I didn't realize that some people had this experience. And so reading something like that would actually be like not okay.
Right.
So like I've learned a lot that I like never would have. And like, there's actually like consequences if I were to say something bad. So I'm like much more socially aware, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's like kind of grounded me because like I'm just like a lot better of a person. I make it sound like I used to be shitty. Like I wasn't shitty. I just like I had my experiences and now I just have so many other people's
so many
experiences
right.
like giving me feedback on stuff. And like a lot of people will like tell me like it in a really nice way in the past. They'll be like, hey, like, can I talk to you about this? Because I know you meant this from a good place, but this is like how I feel about it because of this specific situation. I'm like, oh shit, like I've never lived that way. So that's true.
Right. Yeah, you're kind of put in this accelerated timeline where you're in front of just thousands and thousands of people. So it kind of...
You've just like grown up in all these cultures at once now where you're just like being educated by everybody.
Yeah, and it has its benefits and its drawbacks because the benefits are you get to be educated and you get a lot of perspectives. And in most cases, I think with, especially the kind of content you put out, which is mostly innocuous, you're going to get a lot of good people who are like kind of gentle and nice, who are like, hey, like this is, you know, something, this is how I felt about what you said. But you also kind of like get the reverse of that then where it's like because you're so online and you're so inundated with this, like you are in a situation where most people who are just like in your real life have no idea what that's like. It's like the kind of the space I always get into with people in real life versus online, where there's stuff online that I'm sensitive to, and I'm really happy that I'm sensitive to it now, and I'm happy that I'm able to like learn about.
This happened to me like 2 days ago, like where I was just around people in person and they were saying things. I'm like, oh my God, like why are you saying this? Like please stop.
Yeah.
Like I'm so uncomfortable with you saying that right now.
Right. And they're just like not in the same spheres, so it's like operating on a different, like it's really really bizarre. Like I feel like ever since I would say like somewhere around 2014 2015, this has just gotten so crazy because like that was a time when gay marriage was getting legalized and online culture was getting really just like vocally progressive, which is really, really good. And then it had this kind of almost like a reverse
pushback.
Yeah, it had the pushback from people who like aren't that online. So it's like people who and not that's not in all the cases. Obviously, there's tons of cases of people who are really online and just disagree. But for a lot of people, it's definitely a perspective enhancer to spend all day online. But then it also kind of puts you in a silo because you're getting people from like all over the world. Whereas like the people who, you know, like if you, whatever it is, like with Twitter, it's mostly like metropolitan. So you're getting people from like New York City and LA and a lot of like major cities.
When I'm around these people, I can't give them all the information, even just like myself, that I've gotten from other people.
Yeah.
Like I can be like, oh, you're going to learn today. Like, like I've gotten from other people, and like, not even just from like me saying something bad, but just like from seeing other people say something bad, or like from seeing like other people share their experiences with what bothers them. And then like hearing people in my real life, like talk in a way that is just like so not okay. It's also kind of just like a reminder that these people online aren't full of shit. Like they're not making up these experiences. Like people actually like say those things or like are like that. Like, because sometimes if you're online, you'd be like, well, I don't see anybody talking like that. But if you go out into the real world, you're like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Like all those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, please stop.
Yeah.
But I talked about this the other day. I made a tweet where I was like, I don't know why people are saying you can't make jokes about anything now. Like comedy should always be punching up instead of punching down. And like, just because being a dick isn't comedy anymore and like making fun of people or making offensive jokes that like gets an easy laugh from bigots or assholes like isn't working, doesn't mean that comedy is dead.
Right.
Like,
yeah, well, now this is kind of like what I was trying to get at before. It's this really interesting time because comedy in general right now just seems like it's split, where you have a lot of these newer, younger people like you coming up who are focused on, like, even just the humor is much different than traditional comedy. Like the kind of humor that you would find funny, or like Cal would find funny, or Viking is
just like super randomly fucked up things.
Yeah,
like, but like not about people, just like about like
just life observations.
Yeah,
and it's so contrasted to what I think is just traditionally understood as comedy, or like old school, like the old guard of comedians. Much more like there's always been the element of punching up, like in some respect, but a lot of it
always should be.
Yeah, but a lot of it,
or like the self-deprecating.
Yeah,
like they'll put that in there to make it better. Like they'll say something offensive, but they're also calling themselves ugly or something like that, so that it's acceptable. Like I make fun of everyone.
Yeah, that's a classic like Bill Burr move, where like Bill Burr, like anytime he sets up his jokes, he's basically like within the setup saying like I'm a moron, like I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm trying to figure all this stuff out, and then he'll say something offensive or reel it back, or but it's this kind of like weird
like
space.
Playing the dummy.
Yeah, because like a lot of these old guard comedians, like a lot of the content that they grew up on and that they've kind of built their audiences around are really based on being offensive and free speech absolutisms, like just always trying to push the boundaries on stuff, which is in opposition to the type of content that someone like you is trying to create, where just like with what you just said a few minutes ago, where people are sending you these messages saying, hey, this affected me a certain way. Like that's like you're basically catering to people and being really kind and really trying to like.
Well, I'll also say like fucked up things, but like not fucked up in like a, oh, that's gonna hurt someone. It's just like a what the fuck. Like, or like the Kellen or Viking will push boundaries in a way that their jokes are like something you've never heard before, but like it's not pushing boundaries in a way of like this people's comfort boundaries. Like it's still like new comedy where it's like changing things, but it's not to someone else's belittlement.
Yeah, I think in my perspective, at least, it's similar to what I've been doing with Steakum's brand, where it's kind of like, it's ironic humor, it's absurdist, like it's kind of, it's self-satirical in a way where we're all kind of, this generation is very self-aware, so we're kind of used to looking at like the broader systems in place, like consumerism and capitalism and all like the kind of it's like social justice, and all these issues are much more integrated. So how we talk about them, it's almost like we kind of feel helpless, almost like we don't know what to do about it. So we kind of end up venting through whatever outlets we have in these really surreal, absurd, just kind of like out there ways. Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting for me, at least, like for a lot of what you just said, like kind of how you're trying to just be respectful of other people's humor and also just like create your own niche of humor. Like, from like my biggest thing with moving forward in any kind of regard, like especially when it comes to political views and social views and all that, is like I know, like, whenever I look back on the stuff that I believed, like, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, like, what?
I was very different. Well, my parents were Republican, and I was in a really small town that didn't have a lot of diversity, and I was never mean or like a bad person, but like I was like, global warming is fake, or like I would just
Me too, when I was a little kid.
Or like, so sometimes when there are those canceled tweets about someone in 2012, like if they're 70 now and they said something bad in 2012, then yeah, fucking like cancel them. But like if you were like in high school or like middle school and had never gone out into your own world and experienced things and like learned from people like that were different, like you haven't actually like reached your final thought form yet.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna get at, is because it's like, for me personally, whenever I look back at like my own transformations, like I have to kind of check myself whenever I'm like you said, there's obvious certain circumstances when something happens politically or someone says something that's so egregious and like you have to commentate on it. But like I really try to make it a point to check myself, because when certain friends or people online make a comment, like sometimes I'll look at it and my gut reaction is like, this moron, like I want to punch this person.
Yeah.
But then I think like, wait, I would have thought that exact same thing like 5 or 7 years ago, you know?
Yeah, which is really hard with people that like you look at and you're like, oh, like they're a good person, they just haven't gotten that exposure yet. Like they just haven't like gotten those lessons necessarily,
right.
or that kind of thing. So then it's like you need to pick whether you're able to educate them or like if that's just who they are. And like there's both. And I think I'm a humanist. I like people. I think that most people like would be good if they actually got to see the scope of other people's experiences. But if you don't ever see other people's experiences, you're just like, it's so hard to like be empathetic to those things and understand it.
Yeah, you're kind of doomed.
Kind of fucked.
Yeah, it's weird. We can go on forever with that. It's just like existentialism. Like, do any of us have any free will? Like, I didn't choose where I was born. Like, I didn't choose my brain. Yeah, Bandersnatch. It's like, this is something I'm always interested in with people who are content creators and just funny in general. Kind of going back to the whole just funny tweet you wrote that you joked that like people have gotten mad at you over, where you said like, how do you raise kids like knowing they're gonna get just enough trauma that they turn out funny? Do you ever think like kind of the older you get, like now, like I don't know how old you are or how much school
I'm
you
22.
have left?
I finished this year.
Okay, cool. So I mean, like as you kind of transition into the workplace or whatever you're gonna do, like do you think you might settle down in the next few years and like get really happy
with a human?
Listen, and then you get really happy and then you get really boring and then you lose your humor.
Here's the thing. Here is the thing. I wasn't funny on Twitter until I ended, like I was in this 4-year relationship with a guy, and we moved out to Arizona together when I decided I wanted to go to ASU. He wasn't in college. He worked at Starbucks. But
Aww. Hey, it's a good company.
It is a really good company. But yeah, like he moved to Arizona with me because I wanted to go to school there. And I broke up with him like March of my freshman year. And that's when I like finally became an interesting person.
You got funny.
Yeah, that's when I got funny. And like I think I maybe was, but that's like my biggest fear with relationships is like becoming complacent and boring and like not challenged.
Yeah, you're just too content.
Yeah, being content is like my fear.
I had to ask because that's how I feel. Even just like doing this as a job, like when I'm at home, when my life is really good, my tweets are terrible.
You're like, you have your wife there and you're just like happy and like eating and like watching TV together and you're like, fuck, wait, the brand. Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't know, that's like definitely something I worry about. But I think if you like are with somebody who's similar in that way, like I think there are certain people who can challenge you, and like there are certain people who just like make you feel bleh. Yeah. And like my last relationship, I was just like bleh all the time.
Right. So you just got to make sure whoever you find that they're gonna keep you on your game. That's the key. Because like that
baby didn't tweet today.
Dude,
that's what you need.
Seriously, like, dude, my wife is so, and I don't want this to come across mean in any way because I love it, but she's very unimpressed with me. Like, not like in a way where she's not proud of me. Like, she's really proud of me. Like, loves the work I do and like is very supportive in those ways. But she's not the kind of person who's just gonna like pat me on the back and be like, oh, you're so funny. Like, you're
tying your shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she makes me work for it. And I love it. Like, it's such I never was with someone who really pushed me in those ways. But because in your mind, you kind of get older and you're like, oh, I want something comfortable. I want someone to just love me for me. But, like, when you find someone who, like, loves you and also challenges you like that, it really does keep you wanting more, and you don't have to get bored.
See, that gives me hope.
Yeah, you can find you're human. I mean, it's definitely, you know, like, obviously,
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance. Like,
there's a chance.
But Michaela, I believe in you. You got this.
Okay.
With SheRatesDogs now, you're gonna find some other person who has another big comedy account.
Oh my god, I swear that like I think that like guys are scared of me because like my whole thing is like posting dumb things that guys do. Right. So like I still get like a lot of DMs, but like also I'll get a lot of DMs that are like prefaced with like, please don't post this, but I just like
these are just my thoughts, please, I don't want to be another victim.
Yeah, I know, like they're scared, which I love like in a way, but also it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's like a balancing act. Like you wanna be able to maintain the integrity of who you are and what you believe and the humor of all this stuff, but you also don't want to just like wake up one morning and realize like, man, I've just been a dick to people the past.
Yeah.
Do you think you plan, or do you think you see yourself online forever? Like, is this just part of you now, or do you like plan to get off someday?
Well, I don't know, because the internet changes so much. Like, what if it changes into something that like isn't my realm anymore? I mean,
fear.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to always be doing a lot of different things. I don't know. If it does happen, it'll be like a natural change. There's no way to know. I mean, like what I'm doing right now, like what I want to do for work is like a lot social media based. But I mean, if that ends up being the reason I get an opportunity in something else, then that's also like how it'll be.
Right. Yeah, it is weird because social media is the best in so many ways, but it's a double-edged sword because then it just consumes your whole life. Like,
yeah, well, I've gotten to a place where it's like I'm not super affected by stuff anymore. So like I have kind of like gotten to a place where I'm like healthy in it, where like I can still be in college and like get all A's and like have an actual job. Well, I quit my job because I'm making enough money from Twitter now, but like I was able to like do all those things and like be balanced enough. I mean, like I'm doing my homework and then I take 2 seconds for a tweet. Like that's fine. Like, cause a thought popped into my head.
Right.
So it's never been like, I don't see social media as like this all consuming, like takes your life away type thing.
Yeah, you're not like compulsively checking it all day.
Yeah, but I also had like a life before I did social media. Like a lot of people also will just find their lives on social media.
Yeah, that is a weird space to be in, because I notice the same thing with people where some people...
It's like gamers, but like in Twitter now. Like,
yes, exactly.
There used to be like you log on to World of Warcraft and that's where all your friends are. That's where girls like there's a girl who will be nice to you, but you don't know what she looks like, or like, and it's like that now, but like that's Twitter for some people.
Yeah, and like for some people it's good. Like you were saying earlier, like if you're a person who lives in an area where you're not really surrounded by that much diversity or opportunity, now that's like you have this online opportunity to make friends and to get yourself out there, which you wouldn't really get to do in real life. So in some ways it's good.
Yeah, I love that for them. Also, I mean, like things can be a stepping stone. Like if you don't have any friends, or that sounds so like sad, but if you like aren't good at making friends, but like you find friends through like the internet, and then like from there you maybe hang out with one in real life. Like everyone has a totally different way of like achieving things. So, I mean, it can be really healthy for some people. I don't always see it as like an unhealthy coping mechanism or like escape.
Right. Yeah, it definitely depends on the person.
But it also can be. I think personally that like Instagram is more unhealthy. Like I think getting likes based on like for girls at least, like, or guys too, but like based on how much clothing you're wearing, or like if you tried that harder, if you like face tuned your photo the right way, or like pick the right filter, like that seems more like it makes me sad than like a joke doing well, you know what I mean? Like, people liked what I have to say. I don't want followers that don't care what I have to say.
Right, yeah, because that's like the toxicity of visual, just like appeal, where people, just like with billboards or Hollywood or whatever, I mean, people are posting and making themselves look perfect to get attention in a lot of cases, whereas
and that's just like, it hurts you so much. Like, to be like, oh, if I post this picture of me that's unedited, or like I'm with my family, it's not going to get as much likes or attention as if it's like something else. But that's also like, that's me personally. Like I know that I'm not saying anyone who's big on Instagram or something like that, like is unhappy, or like that's not where they find their empowerment. Like that's also totally valid. It's just like, I think it's easier to get sucked into like insecurity over those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's just it's much easier slippery slope for people to just fall into it, because that's like the what do you call it?
Well, Instagram influencers are always doing articles on that, on like how finally after 2 years they're like going to post a completely unedited photo and talk about how toxic the last 2 years have been and how miserable. Like, that's so common. Like I haven't seen that from like people who are on Twitter or something.
Well, you think like even just the reward system, again, like the reward system from Instagram is basically beauty standards. Like even if it's not a person, like a beautiful picture, like it's based on aesthetic, whereas Twitter is much more based on entertainment and content, and it's a little bit more detached, I think, from that like really slippery slope of just you're still going to compare yourselves inevitably to other people, but it's definitely not as, I guess, surface level, where, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It definitely depends person to person, but I see the same thing that you do. You've been, dude, super gracious with your time. I really appreciate all this. Hell yeah. We can wrap it up here.
Points were made.
Many points were made. Love this for us. But
I love saying that.
It's so funny. I say it in real life all the time, and
I say it way too much. Like Gracie was like killing me over it on Thanksgiving.
But yeah, anyway, like kind of going back to your SheRatesDogs account and like how successful all that's going, and now you got merch and you're getting a website launch, and it's super exciting. So like obviously that is in the pipeline for like what you want to do, but you're also graduating college soon. So I mean, like, did you have any goals in the future outside of that? Like anything coming up that you're excited about, or is this kind of just like focusing on this in the here and now?
Well, okay, so I don't want this to sound like any kind of way, but like I have recently in the last month started making enough money from Twitter where it's like, this is probably what I'm going to be doing.
Awesome.
And like my major in college is media analysis and English linguistics. So it's very much like, it's like journalism for a social media, not newspaper type world. So, I mean, this is kind of the space I wanted to be in. And like anything that I undertake, like having my accounts is like just a good stepping stone platform for me to have for whatever I want to do. Really, like if I were to write for a paper, like I would be able to get clicks pretty easily, or like, like I could show them like how quickly I could build an account or like that kind of thing. Like that's always going to be like an asset. So this is like kind of probably what I'm going to be doing.
That's so exciting. Yeah, you got the clout.
I know. I'm so happy. Like I'm so happy. And like I realized that like I was talking to my mobile therapist. Like I have this this app for like just texting therapy like whenever.
Oh, what's the app?
They were it's called Sibley's. So it's like this team of people that just they all have your file, so like you can talk to someone 24/7.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and they were like asking me where I see myself in 2 years, and I was like, oh, that's the first time I like had that question and not just felt dread. Like I'm actually really excited for like where I could be in 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
And a lot of that's because of social media. Yeah, so that's really nice.
Yeah, that is the best thing to hear for like from content
But I could also
creators.
get suspended. I could also get banned.
You could also lose everything. But
yeah, it's like a click.
now, but dude, that is luckily for you. Like with all this, I mean, being a public figure and having your name and your pictures out there. I mean, luckily, if anything, God forbid, were to happen, you have the public clout where you could easily rebuild like pretty much on any platform now because you're so recognizable.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to say.
I mean, what the hell do I know? But
well, because like, yeah, whenever I do talk about like all of these like options and like exciting things I could do now because of my accounts and like the followers I have, at the end, I always have to be like, but I could also get banned. And I could in 1 second lose it. But I think I have like, I started an Instagram for SheRatesDogs, and that's about to hit 20K. And like, I have multiple platforms now, so I hopefully have a little bit of a safeguard in place.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, spreading your eggs, that's the key.
Yeah, spreading my eggs. I want that to be the main quote. Michaela Okland, spreading her eggs.
It's great. Yeah, I'm expecting my 5% in the mail then when that takes off.
I'm going to put that on one of the shirts.
Please, no, you can have it. That'd be awesome. All right, Michaela. Yeah, I really appreciate all the time. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, of course. I'll catch you back on Twitter.
All right, bye.
See ya.